Hey y'all, welcome to season 3 of Queen's Vantage Podcast. We are back in full effect. Today I am sitting down with 3 amazing mothers to talk about I love my kids, but I hate being a mom. Let's go, y'all. Welcome to Queen's Vantage. We have Nia.
Hello, hello.
We have Nell.
Hey.
And we have LaTanya.
Hi.
All right, y'all, let's get into this conversation. So I wanted to kick this off because I believe there's duality in parenting. There are the moments that we absolutely love, and there's the not so good moments. So I want to start by asking my guests, what are some moments that you have just loved immensely about parenting, and then a moment where you're like, I could do without this shit? Nia, we'll start with you.
First? A moment that I absolutely love, when I started teaching my girls sign language, I think around 6 months. So I was at the park by my house, and this lady came. She had her toddler, and I always ask parents with small kids, like, give me one nugget, give me one thing that works for you. I may not use it, but to collect those in my arsenal is always a good thing. So she said she taught her child sign language, and she felt like it was a huge difference in the way they communicated. Well, for me, I'm like double trouble. So I am feeling overwhelmed constantly. And I'm like, okay, if I can teach them to communicate with me at a young age, then we golden. So I started teaching them sign language at like around 6 months. And I remember very vividly the first time I was like, okay, girls, let's go upstairs, get ready for our nap. And I picked them both up because I'm strong like that now, right?
Okay.
I picked them both up. And they started doing the sign for bottle. And I was just like, my heart just melted. I was like, it's freaking working. and in that moment, it was just like, I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
I'm doing something right. And it's resonating with them. And they are picking up this information. And now we are communicating. And I know what their wants and needs are. And that, for me, was like, it was beautiful.
I love that. I love that. Now, we'll pivot over to you before we get into our dislikes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing I love is just me just being around them all the time.
Yeah.
It just warms my heart. And especially they be responsible, learn their manners, know how to talk to people.
Yeah.
Melts me.
Yeah. And we should say, so Nia, you are a mother of twins.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
My twins are they just turned 3 years old, maybe 2 weeks ago.
Happy birthday to my Aries twins.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. And Nell, you have 2 boys.
2 boys.
Yeah. What are their ages?
9 and 7.
Okay. All right. And I want to say the OG of parenting.
Hey.
Yeah.
And I have a 25-year-old girl and a 23-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And what I love is when they love on each other. I
Yeah.
love it when they show each other so much love. My daughter is the oldest, so, since day one, they're about 2.5 years apart, that's been our baby. And she calls him baby. We call him baby to this day.
Oh.
And he answers that. And he has lots of names. But when they show love to each other, she absolutely takes care of him, even, when times are rough. And that's kind of my flip side. So when they're at odds, I'm at odds,
Yeah.
if we transition over to that. And so they pull me kind of 2 different ways, because then they feel like I'm showing more support to one or the other. And it's really like you guys are 2 different kids, 2 different sexes,
Yes.
and so you have to give different things to each other, to each of them. I'm sorry, because they have different personalities. So that's my good and my not so good. It's like, hey, just trying to navigate through that.
Yeah. What's a perfect segue into some of the dislikes? Because as a mother of 3 boys, I often get so-and-so's your favorite.
Yes.
And I'm always like, no, whoever I'm talking to at that moment is my favorite.
That's
right?
right.
And sometimes I dislike one of you more than the others, or I dislike you all equally.
Right.
But I absolutely love you. Like my love for them will never waver. It'll never change. But I do get that sometimes. It's like, you love him more. You spend
That's
more
it.
time with him. It's like, nah,
Right.
I really can't stand all of y'all
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah.
Right.
So Nia, being a mother of twins, that has to come with some challenges.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so the initial question was what do I dislike
Yeah.
about
Or what are some of the challenges with parenting?
parenting twins? Probably the biggest challenge that we all face is scheduling.
Yeah.
I have 2 children. In the beginning, they didn't sleep. And so it was like I heard a whole bunch of moms telling me, oh, you should sleep when they sleep, or you should do things when they sleep. And I'm like, bro, they sleep 10 minutes. What I'm doing? Scratching my
Yeah.
butt? Okay, because we're not doing,
Yeah.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
So all of that information that I was getting, it felt like trash to me. So really, my major focus when they were first born is getting them on a schedule that just makes me feel like I'm sane.
Yeah.
I remember in the beginning, me and my husband would take shifts on watching them, and so I would literally go to bed at 8 p.m. and then I wake back up at 4, and we were on the couch. We spent the first 5 months
Yeah.
on the couch. We tried to do the nursery and the bedrooms, but it was too much. We needed to be closer to the kitchen. At that time frame, I was breastfeeding and I was also pumping. So I'm breastfeeding every 2 hours, pumping every 3 hours. It became a lot. It felt like I had triplets and then my husband, and it was a bit much. But
Were you saying that your husband's like one of the children? Joseph. I'm putting him on the spot.
let's just say during that time frame, he started watching Naruto. So I
Okay.
think that's what kept him up. So I would go to bed at 8 and I would wake up at 4, and we're all on the couch, and the couch is massive, right? So he's on one end of the couch, I'm on one end of the couch. I go to bed at 8, wake up at 4, and then at 4 he would go to sleep, and then he would get up around 8 or so and go upstairs and go in the room. He started watching Naruto to like keep him up. But for me, it was just like a flood of information. It was like I went from being one person to 3 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that I think was probably the biggest challenge within itself. I'm already a late person by myself. Now
Yeah.
I ain't never nowhere on time.
Yeah,
Ever.
that happens. Now, there's also the unspeakable, right? So there are the things like you can't prepare for twins, really, truly.
I thought I was.
You thought you can, but you also have a son who has autism.
Yeah, my oldest.
Your oldest. How has that been for you as a parent in navigating just the world with
It's
a
just
child?
been like a step-by-step challenge. I just know that like by the time he hit by the age of 2, I just didn't see no progress. Like he wasn't like the 1-year-old like talking and stuff. So that's when I started seeking help.
Okay.
Family member, people coming in home, speaking language,
Yeah.
sign language,
Yeah.
therapists.
Yeah.
He started getting to school by 3. So he's been in school since he was 3.
Okay. Yeah. And so I believe sometimes when a child is a little different, it's stigmatized, and especially in our community. And I'll give you an example of that. My son, Kyson, was diagnosed with auto processing disorder and dyslexia. And there was a battle between me and his dad because his dad felt like maybe he wasn't just applying himself.
Right.
But I had known since Kyson was about 2 that something was a little different and that he wasn't learning the same. And I was okay with that because, like I said, my love for my children is unwavering. So it doesn't matter whether one is at the top of their class or one needs a little bit more pushing and help.
Right.
But how has that been in terms of the support in your own community?
It's been good.
That's
I've been getting
good.
a lot of support, a lot of school support, so therapists, speech therapy.
Yeah.
It's been really working out. So now we got he can talk to me now with words instead of
Yes.
using pictures, hands, pointing at stuff.
Okay. Very nice.
I have a question.
Yes.
Kind of just because I'm intrigued, right?
Okay.
Do you feel like it's enough help? Because I think that's where I struggle with as well. I have help, and I'm not discounting the help that I do have.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like it's enough.
Well, the help I have, I think it's enough for right now because now we're able to communicate. Before we wasn't doing that at all. Like a year ago, he was able to communicate with me by using language and words instead of just using pictures, pointing, throwing a tantrum. So it really helped me a lot.
So he's now verbal versus being nonverbal before.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And help is critically important in motherhood. When I moved to Fairfield, I had decided to keep my kids in Marin for their schooling. And one of the challenges was if I had to travel for work or if I just wanted to take some time off, getting help to get those kids to school was nearly impossible. I am like a one-man army, and I have to be here, be available, make sure that they're at all their practices and schooling and whatever's going on. So help is kind of like twofold, right? It's the support when your child has challenges.
Yeah.
And for me, like with Kyson, I homeschool him, so I'm there with him daily. But in terms of like the other support, maybe babysitting, thank God they're old enough to babysit themselves. But that was a struggle for me. I wanted to get back to you, Tanya, because you have older children now, and so you've now seen this, and I have a little bit too with a 21-year-old, but you've now seen parenting in, I think, just about all of its phases, right? From infancy now into college age children.
Yeah, and I can absolutely agree with these ladies, and I've been through some of the things because my son was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 8. And because I was so persistent in learning, not putting that stigmatism on him, but also realizing that after we did all the research and the learning and the doctors and the teachers that he did have right at 8, like right on the onset, he had the ADHD. He was good, and then he just kind of turned into this mean little boy, you know? So my mission was to make sure, though, that he wasn't stigmatized in the school and saying that he was going to be truant. Because I had a friend that was a psychologist, and she said, hey, just make sure you advocate for him and make sure you don't have them label him as a truant guy, like he was bad and he was this. And I did that. So I've gone through that whole process. It was a struggle. It was definitely a struggle. I had the struggle with the baby that wouldn't sleep when I first had her. And so I understand that. We had opposite schedules. So I was on swing shift. He's on day shift. We literally exchanged my daughter in the parking lot, and we were working at the same place. So I've kind of been through that same kind of, like you said, stages of things, and now on to where my daughter's in law school, and she's still
shout out Ashley.
Yeah. She's still trying to make things work and struggle, still deal with her mental, because it takes a lot. So I've been through all of those and getting the help. Like, let me say that my mother-in-law was definitely a big asset for the help. Like, I was able to go back. My son was the good baby. My daughter was the one that gave me a lot of the problems in the first beginning. But my son was the good baby, and my mother-in-law just made it easier. And she always told me, as mothers, you will always need somebody. Create those relationships. You will always need someone when you're a mother. So.
Absolutely. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast, is because I feel like community is critically important in all facets of life, whether you're a mother or you're not a mother. But it's just so important who you have in your circle, who you have around you. And there are so many societal norms that are created where, as a woman, right? So let's just take off the label of just being a mom. As a woman, we need to show up. We need to look good. We need to present well. We need to speak well. We need to be there for every person. And this year, for 2025, what I have been trying to do is strip myself of labels. I decide who I am in this world, right? Myself, and through God, who God says I am. And so as I move forward in life, I'm like, I don't want the labels anymore, right? I want to be me, and I also want to create that space for my children. So you are who you are, and you get to choose.
Yes.
With parenting, especially with being a mother, I feel like we're constantly under a microscope. It's, oh, you let your kid eat that, or you let your kid drink that, or he stays up too late, he's on a tablet too much, whatever it is. And it's like, it's my child. It's my child. And unless you're coming in here and you're paying that $3,200 daycare, or you're paying this Marin Catholic tuition, you don't get to have a say.
You don't have a say.
You don't get to have a say.
Absolutely not.
And I think that has been a challenge for many women, because we want to just show up, right? We want to present well. And it's like, no, motherhood is hard. There was a moment when we were traveling to school. At the time, all 3 kids were in 3 different schools in Marin County. So we're commuting from Fairfield, and I had a nervous breakdown. I pulled over off the highway, got out of my car, started crying, like welting. And I was like, give me a moment. Let me get this out. We're going to be late today, but we're going to get there. And I got back in the car and the kids were just kind of looking at me like,
They were shocked.
Like-
It was like, did we say anything?
all right. She's having that Tina Turner moment in the limo right now. We're just going to be quiet. And we made it, you know. And now when I look at it, it's like I got one kid that I'm commuting in school. So life changes over time. But let's talk a bit about community and how that has been for you and the folks that have shown up for you and what that looks like.
For me, it was community is everything.
Yeah.
And what I'm finding is that everyone needs it. And if you don't have it, naturally, you have to pay for it.
It costs to be the boss.
It costs to be the boss. My mom has been amazing. She literally comes over. I remember when the girls were born, she was there at the house like every weekend. I specifically bought this $500 chair from Amazon so that it could sit in the room with the girls because she said she wanted to be in the room with the babies. That's where the
Yeah.
blessings were. So I'm like, okay, you be in there and you wake up with them. But she would come to the house every single weekend. We currently live with my mother-in-law, and so her housing us just has been an amazing thing for us to all be under one roof. My kids get to grow up with their grandparents in the home. But I got to tell you, I've sought other forms of support, and I feel like it's fallen short.
Yeah.
I've done a few different types of therapy. I've done group therapy with other women. I found the therapist to be non-helpful, at least to me. Now, I was the only one in the group that had twins, and all the other women were singleton parents. I found myself giving them more constructive criticism and or information to help guide them through whatever their current
Yeah.
situation was, more than a therapist. Like, okay, girlfriend, you should try this. It works with my two babies. You'll be able to do it perfectly with your one.
Yeah.
And then I even tried doing single therapy. I felt like with that, I was looking more so for someone to help me dive within when it felt like she was just kind of validating my feelings, which I don't need that. I'm great at critical thinking. I'm great at problem solving myself. So I can do those things on my own. What I'm looking for from you is more of the professional side of it, which I don't really feel like I got. It was just like I'm talking to someone and they're like, yeah, I think that's great. Everything that you came up with is great and keep doing it. And yeah, okay, that's not helping.
You're like, thanks, I'm great.
Because I'm good
Yeah.
right now.
But I need help.
What I
Yeah.
understand about this postpartum depression that I'm in
Yeah.
is that for me, it's mild. So it comes in waves.
Yeah.
So today is a great day. I got energy. I took all my supplements. I feel like I can work out a little bit,
Yes,
right? So
yes,
today's
yes,
a great
yes.
day. But tomorrow might not be.
Yeah.
So those are the skills and the information that I was looking for that I didn't really like seek.
Yeah. I want to get into that a little bit because I did suffer. The first time with my first child, I didn't know what it was with postpartum depression. I didn't have a name for it. We had never talked about it. And if I'm honest with you, my mother didn't believe in like depression or, you know, it's just like you're stressed.
Right.
And baby, you gonna be all right.
get over
And
it.
don't you go telling people your business. But I struggled. So the first time around, I didn't know what it was. The second time, it was a lactation consultant that came to my house. My middle son was 9 pounds and I was 115 pounds when I had him. So I'm having this 9-pound baby who wants to have milk all the time. And I didn't have enough body fat, so I wasn't producing enough milk. And I remember the lactation nurse came to my house and she said, baby, you're not going to produce enough milk. Give the baby some formula. Because again, when I talked about those societal norms, you have to breastfeed your child. And she said, you're just not going to produce enough milk. You are tiny. You have, when we brought him home from the hospital, he was already 10 pounds. And she's like, give him some formula, supplement, and then try both. And that, it helped me, right? And so talking about community,
like a
how
weight
sometimes it
lifted off of
extends
you.
beyond. It was a weight lifted. And she said, you need to get out of this house. Cause like, I think my hair was a mess and I'm just in there. Cause he would just cry all the time. Cause he wasn't being fulfilled. And so she said, get out and take a walk. So I would go over to Lake Merritt every day on maternity leave and walk with my baby around that lake and realize like, you can give him a bottle, you know? So like sometimes community does extend beyond just our family and friends and those who show up for us. I've been very fortunate in this second iteration of my life because there was the post me,
Right.
or the pre me, and now the post me, and where my community has expanded, and it's been helpful. I mean, Nell, you're a part of my community. You're a neighbor.
Yeah.
Our sons play together, swim together,
Everything.
and I feel like we live in a community where people really look out for our children. which has been great. But what does your community look like?
My community look like it got support from both sides of the family.
That's great. Yeah.
Father does his thing every other weekend.
Yeah.
We step in and do his part, but school-wise, I do everything else.
Okay. Yeah. So the kids are primarily with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
They're with me. Mother does a lot too.
I was going to say,
she
I was
retired,
not going to let
so-
you leave your mom out.
I know.
Yes.
She retired, so she got time.
Yeah.
So she went into early retirement to even help me out.
Very nice. Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And over the years, Tanya, I'm sure, because our needs change, right, based on our children's ages. And for me, after my divorce, I had a nanny. And and she became family to us, like to the point where I was like,
nanny number.
I didn't want her to leave. I mean, she extended beyond just to be there for the kids. I mean, she would cook. She would fold laundry. I mean, she became helpful, but like we said, it costs to be the boss.
Right.
But what does your community look like now with your kind of adult age children?
Yeah. And so let me just say, before they got to the age now,
Yeah.
I sacrificed probably my entire 30s to ensure that we had tremendous support. My mother-in-law, like I said, I had my great aunt. We had a community itself because my kids were always involved in sports and schooling, that I was always traveling. And so we had people that we trust in that aspect. But then it got to a point where, they do get to that age, 12, 13, 14.
Yeah.
And he's saying, oh, I get a life now. I get to have a life.
I got to wait till 12, 13, 14?
Hey, legally. But, right. But, and my kids are sheltered in a way. Like, we did the things in the community and we were always in the sports, but also we have this world outside of your house that you have to prepare them for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to limit them to that. But I also, me being separated from their dad at an early age, that I was the one, and not discrediting him at all, because when he had them, he was there for them.
Mm-hmm.
But saying, hey, I got to put myself on the back burner, literally, all my 30s.
Yeah.
I can remember turning 40, and it was like me and a couple of my cousins, and we were like, hey, we about to start doing this, start getting out and doing this and doing that. And so I just taught my kids, though, from a young age, especially my daughter, she was a little mama. And not because she had to be. I think she was just looking at me, seeing that laundry being done, seeing cooking and stuff. And so now, even still to this day, she knows how to navigate and do the things she needs to do.
Yeah.
So we call her little grandma, because she really does take on that sometimes. So.
I love that. I love that. So let's talk about love it or leave it behind, because I think innately we pull some things from our own mothers into our parenthood. So if each of you could share something that you love from your mother that you feel like you can pass along, or something that you want to leave behind. Nia, I'm going to start with you only because we talked a little bit about how we discipline our children. And I think that's important to share, because
I'm on the fence with that one.
I know.
I still got to finish the podcast, but it's so funny. So for my love it, what I would take from my mother is 100%, she's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
She's one of my best friends. And it's not because she didn't discipline or did or whatever the case may be. It's just the genuine fact that I know that no matter what comes, and these are her words, crossways your ass, I'm going to always be there.
Yeah.
And I want my kids to know that. So even now, I'll ask, somebody will do something, and I'll be like, who did that? And they both point at each other. They be like, Skylar did it, Jordan did it. And I'll be like, Skylar, did you do it? And she's like, no, Mom. And I'm like, you can tell me. You won't be in trouble. Just please let me know the truth. And she'll be like, yeah. And I'm like, the fact that they lied already, I need to make sure.
It starts early.
Yes. I need to make sure that they understand that Mommy just wants the truth.
Yes.
And even if you're wrong, I'm going to correct you at some point. But I need to know. I need to know everything that goes on, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that I love, even to this day. Like let me not. Even to this day, my mom is just one of the one people that I feel like I can share everything with, anything with. There's no judgment. We talk about sex. We talk about everything, right? Anything that you could think of, it's a conversation that can be had. My grandmother and my dad as well. I remember once I was selling sex toys. And I was able to call my grandma like, yeah.
You had an intimate service.
Yes, yes. And then, let's see, leave it. I don't know. So I have been struggling with discipline recently. So I do pop them, not all the time, occasionally when it's something that I feel like it's a lesson that needs to be learned, and let's go ahead and learn it, the both of you.
Yeah.
So you're going to get the pop for what you did. Take note of this pop so that you don't get pop later.
Yeah.
But my mother-in-law sent me a YouTube about how we should not discipline our child or spank our child or whoop our child. And I'm going to say something that could be, deemed as
in terms
controversial.
of like corporal punishment.
Yeah. So she even took it back to whooping your child or beating your child or spanking your child. She said it's the whitest thing that you can do. These are her words from the podcast.
Interesting. And is she attributing that to slavery?
Slavery. And how it was something that, okay, well, at least if I beat you, you'll be alive after this versus if Massa beat you. Or how we talk about, I'm disciplining my child this way so that way when they get into the world, they know how to act and they won't be disciplined from, or the world, right? From, police brutality or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, dang, bro, they 3, like, I'm not even there yet. And they're girls. So, typically our lives don't lead down those particular paths.
But it has.
It has
Sandra
and
Bland.
it can.
Yeah.
So I'm torn. When she first sent me the podcast, I felt some type of way. I'm like, what you trying to say, bro? You don't like the way that I with my kids? But I also have to be mindful that we're in a house together. It's me, their dad, and you.
Yeah.
And so if I'm disciplining in a way, it's kind of like, and I'm going to just say it, training our dog, right? When we're training our dog, when we say, hey, go to the cage, you go to the room, we got to be in one court. What is this called for the dog so that he can learn it?
Yeah.
And I feel it's the same way with discipline. If I'm popping them and you just talking out the yin yang, saying, no, stop, don't, where is the cohesiveness and the way in which we're teaching them?
Yeah.
So I said, I'm willing. So I responded to her and I text a message and I said, I love this woman. She's my mother-in-law, and I want to make sure that I reserve this relationship that we have.
Right.
I put in ChatGPT and asked it to write it softly.
Respectfully.
I was like, I'm writing this to my mother-in-law. Can you please make this softer language, so that my point still comes across, but I'm not turning her off. So I told her, I was like, I'm willing to have the conversation, but I don't want to just have a conversation with her. I need my mom present and I need my grandmother present, because sometimes what I feel is that I feel like I'm almost conjuring their spirits when I'm disciplining my children. I've heard me say things that sound just like my grandmother. I've heard her voice come out of me, and I'm just like, okay, is this what this is? Or
so is there something that, and I want to give the other ladies a chance to answer, but is there something in your spirit that tells you that maybe how you're parenting, and especially with your mother-in-law kind of bringing this to the forefront, does not align with how you want to parent?
Yes, and I know that to be true because I pray with my girls every night. Every night we do a prayer, and then once I turn the lights off, I do a separate prayer out loud. And then Jordan, she always says, Mom, what are you doing? And I'd be like, baby, I'm praying. But I let them hear what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Whenever I feel like we've had a hard day, I apologize to them.
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah.
I tell them, Mommy did not do a good job today.
Yeah.
Maybe I let my anger or I let some frustration of me wanting to get back to a career or see myself in the mirror the way that I once saw myself.
Yeah.
And maybe I allowed that to cloud my judgment or to intervene in and I'm not even going to say I want to be a gentle parent, because I don't necessarily believe in that. Sometimes they need a smackdown.
Yeah.
But
I'm holy, but I'm hood.
that part, right? But when I feel like it hits me in my spirit, I apologize to them and I tell them, Mommy is sorry for treating you that way or for making you feel. And I'll ask them, I'll be like, are you afraid of me? Are you scared of me? Did Mommy hurt your feelings? Are you angry with me? And they'll tell me.
Yeah.
I'll tell them, I say, you can tell me, you can let me know how you're feeling. And they're 3.
You're
but
human.
They have a whole conversation with me. They was like, Jordan be like, I angry with you.
Yeah. And we want that transparency, thank you for sharing your human experience. My mother was, and if you knew my mom, Nia, I know you did, and my mom was tough on me, right? And I think I was her 3rd child, and she wanted to get it right. And so she would whoop my ass first and then ask a question later. You know, like, okay, so what made you cross the freeway from the Crest and go up to Toys R Us? But I didn't got my ass whooped. And it was like, because I said I wanted a toy and maybe I didn't elaborate that I was going to go get it, you know? But this time with my kids, I did want to do, well, let me say this first. With the first kid, I certainly translated what I learned from my mother into more of that like corporal way of punishment with my child. And so when he comes home from college, he says that I'm soft on the younger two. So when he walks through the door, he says, give me the belt. Some asses need to be whooped in the house today. And I'm like, boy, stop. And he said, because she too soft on y'all. But now with my youngest child, right, I think the middle is somewhere in the middle. It's a little bit, like I said, that holy in that hood with that one. He definitely tests me a little bit more. He talks back to me more than any of my other children. So he challenges me in different ways. The little one is very expressive, right? That's my little Cancer child. And he's like, I don't like the way that makes me feel, or I need a moment. I would never have allowed my oldest child to tell me he need a moment. But he and I just came up with, about the lying. So I said, if ever I put you in position that makes you feel like you can't tell me the truth and I'm not a safe space for you, give me a code. And so our code word is queen. So when he says, okay, queen, that means I've done something that you're not going to like, and I want to tell you the truth, but I need you to create the safe space. And so I know, okay, Kyson, you can tell me whatever. Mommy won't get mad.
You gotta Zen Buddha out real quick, right?
Give me a moment, you know? And with him, he is, like I said, very expressive. And sometimes he's toting that line of like, okay, now I told you to do something and you're not doing it. So my code word for him now is, okay, honey. Okay, honey. And that's letting him know now it's time for you to stop talking or to get off the game because I've asked you to do something and now it's time to do it. And so we just created this actually this week to say, okay, now we have these code words for each other so that we're creating space where we can communicate to each other. And we're giving kind of that precursor, like I may say something that you might not like after this. And that wasn't me before. I mean, the oldest two would tell you, I'd be like, yo, what's up? Like, bruh, you know, it's nuck if you buck. But now it's like, okay, with the younger one, because we evolve as parents over time, and we should. We absolutely should.
The crazy part is we do that with other adults. So like for me and my partner before we got married, if I knew that I needed to have a conversation with him that I just knew it wasn't going, that from the jump, it wasn't going to sit well.
Yeah.
You have to have that precursor to say, hey, I need to say something to you. And I'm just speaking my truth. You may not like it, but I need you to hear me out fully.
Yeah.
And if we're now like coming down to the 2-3-year-old level, just the child level in general, now we're having these precursors with these children because these children is built different. They're a little more sensitive.
Yes.
They're a little more in their feelings.
I think they're more evolved.
I don't know.
I didn't have the space then or the tools or the language. They have tools and language now because they're on social media and more folks are expressing. They're seeing their peers express how they feel, whether it's around depression. There's suicide prevention apps. We didn't have that, you know? So I feel like they're evolving over time where they can actually express themselves in ways that was not okay because we grew up in an era was if I tell you what to do, you do what I say. And now it's like, okay, you need a moment. Okay, you're gonna go to your room. How long do you need?
Right, because we got somewhere to be.
Yeah.
Different solutions now.
Yeah.
They're given different solutions.
Absolutely. So love it or leave it behind.
For me,
For you.
you know, one thing about my mother, I definitely admired the way she was a single mother. Like she went to work. I had this visual. She had to wear suits. She was an accountant. She went to school, college, the only one out of 8 kids, UCLA, you know, so she really was up there. So I had something to look up to really say, envision, hey, I want to, you know, do life like her, you know, kind of mimic that role and how she did that and raised us. And, you know, me and my sister, like, we from East Palo Alto, so you would
EPA?
look, you may think that, you know, it's ghetto hood and all that, but, you know, there was a big emphasis on school, having nice things. Like, that's how I grew up and really having a good childhood in a sense. But on the flip side, believe it, and where I've changed actually already with my kids is her expression in, say, being vulnerable, emotional, I love you, hugging. she wasn't raised with a lot of that. My grandmother wasn't raised with a lot of that.
Yeah.
But now my kids and having it on their grandmother's side, we say that like that's how I've raised them, and that's
Yeah.
why I've expressed to them that I love you every single time we talk, and they even see it.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, but they've picked that up from you
They-
because you said one of the things that you love about them is the way they love on each
Yes.
other.
Yeah.
So they even say, why grandma don't say I love you, or why grandma, and
Yeah.
so I'm glad that like now, kids point out everything. They'll
Yeah.
put you on blast in a minute, but I didn't get that, but I passed it on to them because that's just
Yeah.
how I am, and so that's one of the things. And trust me, I don't hold anything against her for it
Right. Right.
because she is a smart cookie, lovable. She is open, but you got to get her there.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and I don't have a problem getting there and saying, hey, I love you. And,
Yeah.
asking her about, I would love to have that relationship where you could talk to her. And I'm sure she would, like Mia said, with her mom, but we just haven't gone there
Yeah.
too many times. But
And it's generational. Like
it is.
Yeah.
It
I
is.
mean, I think, some of our mothers are from different generations where I always say like my grandmother was the silent generation. She just kind of showed up and she was, graceful and beautiful and elegant. But she didn't argue against some of my grandfather's structures. And my mother became more vocal, and we not standing for this. And I think this next generation are the change makers.
Yes.
That's what I
Yes.
would
Yeah.
consider myself to be in this particular space.
Yeah.
I've seen society, I've seen the way in which the world has changed. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. This don't work for us anymore. As mothers, we need more support from corporate America. We need more support from the hospitals.
Yes.
The information that is out there, but no one is sharing.
Yeah.
Diactus recti.
Yeah.
Why is it that I didn't understand or even hear that
Oh.
phrase until after I had my children?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And then on my first visit back to the doctor, she's like, oh, you want to go under the knife? For what?
Yeah. Right.
Surgery?
Yeah.
So
That's when your abdominal wall
Yeah,
and your
separates.
muscles separate,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
And I had a
Yeah.
5-finger separation with my girls.
Oh wow. Well, yeah.
So I'm almost back there. I'm getting it back.
And there's no one size fits all, right? Because all of us we're all multi-layered, right? And we have different facets of life. And so how I raise my children might be different from how you raise yours or you raise yours. And I think a lot of the information out there is so structural that it's like, do this and do that. And it's like, yeah, but what about for the kid who like, I don't give a damn what you saying, woman. I'm going to sit here and play this video game. And sometimes it's not always a disciplinary issue. Sometimes your child might be struggling with something.
right.
So parenting, there is no motherhood. There's no one size fits all. We are all very different. And I think it's important as we share our stories to not be judgmental. I always say I would rather lean into someone than to push them away.
Absolutely.
But before we get out of here, I have to get to your love it or leave it behind. You can choose one or the other.
Let's see.
So something from your mom that you would either love to continue or something that you're like, oh, my mom kind of did this with me growing up, but I raised my children a little bit differently.
Well, what I love my mom does is like communication, that and the love and support.
Yeah.
Like do stuff for people. She do her little insurance events and stuff, helping people out. But I really don't know. It's a lot. Can't go into detail.
Well, listen, ladies, I want to say I hope that each and every one of you have the most amazing Mother's Day because you deserve it. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast to share your stories. What I really wanted the audience to get from this is that we are all having a human experience. None of us are perfect. We're going to have our good days, like Nia shared, where we will show up and be our best selves. We've had our vitamins. Like me, I've packed my lunch. I'm keeping the sugar in check. And there'll be days where I'll come home and be like, why the hell is there dishes in the sink? But nonetheless, we're on a human experience and it's all of our journeys. So I want to say to all of the mothers out there, I hope that you've enjoyed this podcast. But I hope that you've gained from this that it is okay to be you. Lean into your community. If there's resources out there that perhaps you want more help with, email us. Hit us
got
up
a whole bunch.
Listen, I'll make sure I connect you to Nia, but lean into our community. We want you all to know that you are seen, you are heard, and you're a part of our community. So that has been another episode of Queen's Vantage Podcast. Happy Mother's Day to all the beautiful mothers out there. And remember, the crown may tilt, but it'll never fall off.